So what we're going to do first is you are going to have a 60-second opening remark, and we're going to start with Mayor Ballantyne. 60 seconds on the clock.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Union Square Neighborhood Council, for hosting this forum this evening. It's great to see so many friends here. I'm Mayor Katjana Ballantyne. I'm running for re-election to continue the exciting progress my administration has made for Somerville, to protect the progress from threats from Washington and from the uncertain economy. I look forward to speaking to you tonight, and I look forward to seeing you also on the campaign trail soon. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Burnley.
Tell me when. Go. Okay, good,
My
perfect.
mic was off, sorry.
Okay, there we go. Hey, everybody. My name is Willie Burnley Jr. I'm a renter who lives on Winter Hill, one of your at-large city councilors, and I'm running for mayor because I believe that we can have a city that is more affordable, more accountable, and more accessible for all. Nearly a decade ago, I was displaced from this great city when my landlord raised my rent hundreds of dollars, and I went through the terrorizing experience of housing insecurity. I made it back fueled by the promise that we can fight to make sure that that does not happen to anyone else in this community. And I want to make sure that I can share with you my vision for a city that is thriving with vibrant neighborhoods, and I look forward to earning your support tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Councillor Wilson, and the clock will start whenever you start talking.
All right, good evening, everyone. Jake Wilson, City Councilor at Large. I want to thank the USNC for putting this together. Thank you all for coming out. Delighted and just honored to be a part of this. My wife and I, Catherine, moved to Somerville over 2 decades ago. We found community here. We put down roots. We have 2 daughters who are Somerville Public School students. Ingrid's set to be a freshman at the high school in the fall, and Margot's going to the 6th grade at the Healy. I'm running for mayor because I've heard over and over from the community that they want decisive, communicative, available leadership in City Hall. A government that's engaged, that takes an innovative approach, that listens to people. I love this city. And I'm tired of negative press coverage. I'm out to change that. So looking forward to discussing a lot with you tonight. Let's get going.
All right, thank you to all the candidates who made their opening remarks. We're going to move into the questions now. All right, first, a question regarding a large demographic here in Somerville, rats. The rat situation in Union Square and throughout the city is out of control. From personal experience, I don't want to be on my porch while there are rats roaming around in the broad daylight. Some people have even started naming the rats in their yards. That's fun. What are you going to do as mayor to control the rat population? And we're going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So Somerville is leading the state in rat control. If you've just seen the recent news articles, Boston and Cambridge look to us as a model. I've dedicated staff to this. I've increased we don't use poison. We have tried and had some success with smart boxes, and we're adding birth control as a next option. If there's an issue and you need help with your yard, please call 311, and city staff will go out, visit you, diagnose the area, and also suggest a neighborhood plan, and they will do anywhere from 1 month to 3 months of treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. I really appreciate this question because it is true, the rats here are out of control. I was just canvassing in East Somerville the other day and talked to a neighbor who said he caught 3 rats just that morning. 3 rats in his own yard with his own traps. How do we get rid of these rats? Part of it is that we have to reduce the waste that the rats are eating. And one of the ways that we can do that is by implementing a pilot program for citywide composting and expanding that to become a citywide composting program that will reduce the waste that the rats are looking for in our trash, in our yards, so that they have less to eat. And frankly, we actually have to start enforcing the laws we already have on the books. We have a vacant properties ordinance that the city passed several years ago, before I was on the council, and we have never enforced it. That means that buildings, like some of the ones in Union Square that are vacant, become households for families and families of rats. We need to make sure that we're actually putting ISD on the case and using our capacity to flush them out of our community so that we can have better quality of life for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I know we're trained to say that, but genuinely thank you for the question. This is one of the three things that I bring up on the doors with people. This is a huge issue in the city. If you know, you know. The rat problem is getting worse and worse in Somerville. People all the time are telling me they can't use their backyards anymore. They're afraid to go out at night with their dogs for fear of rat attacks. We have to get a handle on this. And the only way we're going to do this is by changing people's behavior. We have to stop providing the rats with the food, water, and shelter that they need to thrive. They're like us. If you make life comfortable for rats, they're going to settle down. They're going to have a giant rat family, and that's what's happening. We have to get real about the root causes of this. We're spending money on this, no doubt about that. It feels like it's mostly being spent on treating existing infestations, not the root causes. We have to get real about why it's happening. So it starts with education. Make sure everybody knows it's on all of us. Residents, businesses, property owners, it's on you and me, all of us, to change our behavior, stop having our trash open, stop putting food waste into the trash, stop having overgrowth. Once we've got people educated on that, then you start with the enforcement. But we have to change behavior on rats or it will never get better.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Ballantyne. Would you like to use an optional 30-second extension?
Yeah, I would just
Excellent.
like to add, so I appreciate, we are piloting composting. One of the things that we said, though, in terms of the composting, to what my colleague said, if they're fed, they get food, they get water. We have to be really careful about what we're composting. I will know that in my neighborhood, if you put eggs, for example, our neighbors put eggs in the compost bins, and that also attracts rats. So education is a part of it, and we are certainly working towards that. I would say that, again, if you have questions or issues, please call 311, because that is the reason that our rodent control health inspectors will come out, look at your house, look at the neighborhood, the abutters, because it's usually the entire neighborhood that has to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burnley, would you like to use a 30-second extension?
Absolutely, and I'll try to keep it to 30 seconds. One of the things I'll note is that the city council actually approved funding for a pilot for composting at least a year ago, if not 2 years ago. Maybe Jake can correct me on that. And it didn't happen. We gave the money to the administration to actually do composting already, and it has not happened. It's not happening yet. I hope it does. But we really do need this program. And I also will note that I've put in an effort to actually get an invasive species czar so that we can clean out the plants that rats use to call home in our backyards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, would you like to use a 30-second extension?
Is it on? There we go. I'll try to use less than 30 seconds. Materials matter with this. The materials that we use to make these bins, they matter. The city's bins seem to get chewed through pretty easily. We pay for private composting. No matter what we put in that bin, those rats have not been able to chew through that. So materials do matter.
Thank you. Before we move on from rats, I just want to give a shout out to Ratchella, which is a music festival and event that's going to be happening here in Somerville. Highly suggest you look into that. It's probably going to be great. The fact that we have a Ratchella really speaks to the number of rats that we have here. Okay, thank you. Question number 2. Which specific strategies would you prioritize over the next 2 years to prevent further residential, small business, and creative displacement while balancing long-term growth. And we are going to start with Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. I think this question is very important as someone who went to an arts college myself and as someone who has an arts platform as part of my agenda as mayor. I think we need to do far, far more to actually support local artists and increase their amount of artist spaces in this city. We can do that by providing more grants for folks through a 3% tax on Airbnbs, which we recommended as part of our creative displacement task force, which is now in effect. Half of that money, which is $200,000 per year, should be going to actually support our local artists and their spaces. Additionally, we actually need to make it easier for folks to get access to these spaces by doing a reevaluation of our permitting processes and our licensing fees. We need to be able to streamline these things for local businesses that are, especially when they make space for our local artists and when they're providing community for all of us. This is 100% possible, I know, because 3 months into my role as councilor, I saved businesses, small businesses, thousands of dollars by getting the city to suspend inequitable fees. This is something the city needs to get its eyes on, and it's something that we have the power to do if we have the political will. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks. I want to tackle the small business part first and then get to the artist side of it. Yeah, it's tough times being a local business owner. Big thing we can do is communicate a lot better with the folks who are running these small businesses. Attending the Davis Square Merchants Association meetings, the frustration becomes really clear really quickly when they show up and find, oh, surprise, your sidewalk's out today. It really impacts, and we have to make sure that we're just communicating with them what to expect in terms of construction in front of there, any interruptions that are going to impact their businesses. I've been exploring the idea of affordable commercial inclusionary zoning, the idea that when we build a new development, so similar to what we do on the housing side, we should figure out a way to do affordable commercial. Certifying it gets tricky, but I have a plan there. And then similar to what my colleague at large mentioned here, permitting and licensing. How can we make that easier on businesses? If you talk to a business owner, it's really tough, especially the first time through, but also in renewals. It's not an intuitive process. They often feel like they're not getting help in terms of what comes next. I want to talk about arts before I run out of time here. Somerville has this vibrant arts community because we have all what we call naturally occurring affordable art space. We have to continue protecting that with zoning. We also have to look at how to help artists acquire their own studio space. There is an effort underway to have that happen on Central Street, and that's great. I want to look into possibly repurposing vacant storefronts as artist space as well. There's a nonprofit that's doing some of that work nationally. I'd love to partner with them. Thanks.
Thank you. And now we'll turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. I want to use every tool to create affordability and to end and stop displacement. One of the things that I created was to work with residents, small businesses, and artists, and I created the Displacement Task Force. As the good counselor mentioned, there are recommendations coming out of that very soon. So I'm excited to hear that, and that was a way to make sure that we included everybody and those who are most affected at the table to develop these policies that will affect them. So this is exciting to see going forward. I will say, streamlining permits, totally agree. Yes, government should be efficient. So one thing I needed to do is I found out that everybody was on a slightly different software platform. So I've committed all the departments that work with zoning to a common software platform, from inspectional services to planning to economic development to zoning. And that requires teamwork and concurrent review that will reduce steps and save time. And that'll help residents, small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burnley, would you like to use your 30-second extension?
Absolutely. As mayor, I will create a artist liaison. The city already has a liaison for small businesses that works with small businesses, that goes out and sees what their needs are and works with them around several different issues. we should be talking to our artists in the same way. We should be going to art spaces. We should be talking to the folks who are doing this work to see what they need and what the city can provide. Additionally, to my colleague's point, we should be working with Culture House, which is right here in Union Square. They've done great work here and across the city, and the city should be a
Right,
partner.
your time is up. Thank you. Thank you. Before we continue, I got a message about 8 minutes ago that Zoom was frozen. Are we all okay on Zoom? Excellent. Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilson, would you like to use your 30-second extension?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate the point that my colleague made. I'm a big fan of artist guilds. I know some communities have them. It's a really good way for artists to come together and speak with one voice. And also, you know, on the small business front, just talking to small business owners is such an important thing the city needs to be doing on a regular basis. We need more groups like the Davis Square Small Business, Davis Square Business Merchants Association. The things that come out of those meetings are just really productive.
Thank you. Mayor Ballantyne?
Thank you. So I believe in inclusive leadership. So those who are most impacted, that they have an opportunity to be at the table in developing the policies. So my first year in, I started visiting the artist communities, whether it's on Central Street, whether it's on Brick Bottom, whether it's Joy Street. I even went into Boston to meet with the music community to say, so what do you need? So I heard what they needed, how they want to be
Your time
together.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't like cutting people off, but I have to. So sorry. All right, moving on to the third question. Issues such as parking takeaways, lack of transit options, housing accessibility, and more are disproportionately affecting seniors and people with disabilities. What will you do to help alleviate this situation, both on residential streets and in business districts? And we are going to start with Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you for that question. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that we create a senior advisory commission. We've heard a loud and clear ask from seniors in our community that they want to see this. We have bodies that advise on a number of other things. In the city, we have a commission for women. We have a commission for persons with disabilities. We should have a commission for seniors to weigh in on policy matters before the city, both potential new policies and just in terms of whether there's a need to revise an existing policy that we have. So that's low-hanging fruit. That's an easy thing to do. I've taken the approach of wanting to get input from groups like that. I recently asked that an item be sent back to committee to get input from the Commission for Persons with Disabilities on that, because it was an item involving means of egress, which is an important issue for folks in our city with disabilities. Yeah, you point to the parking issues, the lack of transit. The parking one, I'd love to see us create a dedicated senior parking permit, and I want to see us declare that those metered spots in front of businesses in central business districts, I'd love to see those dedicated to either loading zones, accessible parking, or senior parking during key hours of the day when seniors are running their errands. You know, we hear about the difficulty that they have getting that parking right in front of where they're going. I can park a few blocks away and walk. A senior doesn't always have that luxury. We have to get real about their needs and make sure that we're meeting them.
Thank you. Mayor Ballantyne?
Thank you. So on that, you know, I want to use every tool possible to create and make things much more accessible. I will say specifically to the seniors, we do have a board of directors that works with the Council on Aging. We're looking at modifying that, so I do get recommendations consistently from seniors. Seniors parking permits are already free for them. We've instituted that. And we've actually, as we've taken away parking or reallocated parking around streets, we've added more handicap parking. And we're going to continue to do that. As construction is going, we might remodify some of that, but those things are very important. And thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burnley?
Thank you. One of the most difficult issues in Somerville is our lack of physical connectivity. Somerville is a small city, but it is a very hilly city. It is sometimes quite difficult to travel across the city, particularly north to south. We have no public transit systems that go north to south. And if you're someone who is in Union Square and you want to get to Magoon Square where I live, you have to travel over probably 3 to 4 hills to get there. One of the things that I would like to do as mayor is do a micro-transit pilot that would have essentially shuttle buses that would go up and down, north to south throughout the city. This is totally possible. The city of Salem does this, and they have the Salem Skipper. They're a city with a smaller budget than us and a larger city physically. This is something we absolutely can do, and it's something that when I proposed it years ago, along with Councilor Wilson, we got a shout out from now Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. Additionally, I would just note that I did pass the Safe Streets Ordinance, which is going to help create more safe streets for us all by creating more different lanes for different modes of transit. Part of that ordinance requires that we do not remove accessible parking whenever it is possible, and that we actually increase it, and that we increase communication about how our roads are changing. That is important for the accessibility of all people.
Thank you very much. We're going to go back to Councilor Wilson. Would you like to use a 30-second extension?
Sure. I promise to be quick. Councilor Burnley mentioned that VIA is the provider that does the skipper up in Salem. If you don't know why, the MBTA buses have trouble making it up those hills. Those 40-foot buses struggle to make it up there. So smaller buses are the answer here. And I'll point out, thanks to the work of the USNC in that community benefits agreement that they negotiate with Somerville, one of the key benefits is a shuttle that's going to apparently predominantly go north-south. And I think that's a really important benefit to the community.
Thank you. Back to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So, housing. The new zoning that I proposed for Summer Nova, that we're working on for Brick Bottom, that is soon to be also completed for Assembly, will bring in over $255 million to be added to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which will allow us to build more housing, and Job Trust Fund in order to have more training. And currently, right in the moment, my administration has added 974 affordable housing units in the development pipeline.
Thank you. Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. On the point of accessibility, since my colleague mentioned means of egress, I put in an order last year, perhaps, to ensure that residents could make changes to their homes that include adding elevators so that people can age in place in this city. We have a dearth of affordable housing, but we also have a dearth of accessible housing. That is now the law in this city, and it is now easier to build accessible housing, and that is a win for everybody in our community.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to question number 4. It is a two-parter. At any point, if any of the candidates need the question repeated, please let me know. All right, question number 4. Our community needs more spaces to gather. In the next 2 years, what measures would you take so that city property can be utilized by community groups of all ages? And what are your long-term solutions to the lack of indoor city-owned civic spaces? We are going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So, city spaces. This is something that's really, really important to me. So I met with teens. I brought them in to advise me what they wanted. They said to me early on that they wanted community spaces that were within a 15-minute walk. So I created them in the east, the middle, central, and in the west. So I'm trying to create spaces for teens. We have community spaces for seniors in the east and the west, and I'm trying to open up an intergenerational recreation center over at the Founders Rink. These spaces are really important. Our community wants them. We also have some properties, but these are the properties that are available to be able to do something in the next 2 years.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. And this is another question that is very dear to my heart because how I've tried to run this campaign for mayor is by centering community. I've hosted events, including Willie Fest 2, which is next Sunday at the Rockwell, that puts forward local artists. I've had dance parties with our neighbors. I've made sure that we are showing documentaries and that people are coming together to actually have those community spaces and get to know our neighbors so that we can protect one another when things get tough. And frankly, with the limited space that we have in this community, we have to maximize the use of all of our spaces. There is a new pit in Union Square because the city did not have its eye on the ball when someone called in and complained a year ago in July and said that that building was safe, and it collapsed and it is now a giant hole in the ground. We need to actually enforce our vacant properties ordinance and use those vacant properties and the fines that come with it to actually leverage the spaces here so that we can have partners like Culture House build pop-ups, put spaces for new small businesses, create the ability for people to gather without having to go break the bank just to see their neighbors and socialize. This is totally possible, and our neighbors in Gilman Square with the Gilman Square Neighborhood Council have proposed to do this at the Homan site, but the city has not listened to them and has told them directly that they are not a priority. In my administration, they will be a priority, and so will community spaces.
Thank you. Right on time. Councilor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks. Somerville's a place that we crave coming together as a community, right? You see it. You see the joy on people's faces at a Summer Streets festival. It's what powers us. It's why a lot of us choose to live here. We want those third places where we can meet up with our neighbors and socialize. I've put in resolutions for a number of years calling for a task force to look into and figure out what are the community uses that we're going to be programming, because the question asks about city-owned spaces, and yeah, we have this new high school that we built. We spent a lot of money on it. You all see it reflected in your tax bills now if you're paying property tax in this city. You see it in your rent if you're renting. We've struggled to figure out how to use that school outside of school hours, and we hear all these excuses about it. It's a matter of will. We have to figure out how to open that school up and use this amazing resource outside of those school hours. In terms of long-term solutions for more indoor spaces, we had a whole discussion at the council about Founders Rink. There was an attempt to put a wood floor in there. The council said, let's use it year-round. Please come back with a plan that lets us use it year-round. We didn't get that. The council said no to the money. We have to use the precious few facilities we have year-round. We have to figure it out. Neighborhood spaces. Davis Square struggles to have a place for people to come together just for a community meeting. I'd love to see possibly the Davis Square Neighborhood Council, when it gets recognized here, negotiate something involving a space like that.
Your time is up. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Ballantyne in just a minute. I just want to encourage all the candidates that if you haven't touched upon this, make sure you're maybe telling us how you would be able to accomplish some of these solutions that you mentioned in the 2-year span versus the long-term span. Just a suggestion. I'm going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So for bringing community together, there's also some other spaces that we use. We use our parks, and the very popular Slice in the City is one of those. Families can come and the kids can run around as we're gathering and we're talking together and building relationships. The other popular gathering is Civic Day. It is hosted and has been hosted at our Somerville High School. We have used the space to invite people in, and will continue to do that.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you so much. Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. On the theme of maximizing the space we already have, the city does own land here. We do have spaces that we could be using to provide for a community. If you go right next to Edward Leathers Park, behind the art building, there is a vacant building that is trashy and looks disgusting, frankly, but it is actually owned by this city. we can actually tear that down and build a space for our community members to gather and socialize. It's in Jesse
Your
Clinton's ward.
time has expired. Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my original answer, we have indoor spaces that we're failing to currently utilize properly to their full extent. To me, that's a relatively easy fix, right? Get in there, figure out how to open up the high school, figure out how to use Founders year-round.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to question number 5. Do you have any new programs or policies in mind to help Somerville residents and businesses get greener cost effectively while producing long-term savings? And we are going to start with Councillor Burnley.
Thank you for this. Again, this is something that's dear to my heart. Back in November of 2018, I was doing a sit-in in congressional offices in DC where I was arrested with over 150 Sunrise members fighting for a Green New Deal. This is something that I take very seriously, and I believe that we need to maximize green spaces and actually make it easier for our businesses, our small businesses, to actually have more green roofs, to have solar panels. And one of the things that we're already doing is talking about actually a stormwater tax. Taxing the spaces that are non-permeable and pushing big companies especially to actually have more permeable spaces, which would help reduce flooding, which is a huge issue in Union Square. If you go to Lake Street, when it rains too much, it actually becomes a lake. And for the people who live there, it is a terrible, terrible thing. We actually need to push forward by creating more green infrastructure in the city and incentivizing major developments through both CBAs and through city zoning to build more green infrastructure that will help reduce heat island effect and flooding in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, I'm glad my colleague at large mentioned the stormwater surcharge. It's a good approach if you pay if you pay water and sewer bills. You know what's been happening to your water and sewer bills. We've been forced to raise those rates to pay for the necessary work on largely on our sewer system, right? Because of the combined sewer overflows we have. We have an obligation to do that. No one's disputing that. It's a good way of shifting some of that burden away from ratepayers to the properties that are causing that problem. Generally think big surface parking lots. So that is a very good way to do it. I look at solar panels. If you talk to anyone who's had them installed, it can be a real bear trying to get those installed and activated, getting everything permitted, inspections done. It can take a lot longer than people are expecting. We know a little bit about that as a city. It turns out it took a long, long time to get the solar panels on the roof of the high school activated. I think there was just recently a celebration for that years after the high school opened. It's also important that we help with the huge number of rental units we have in the city. It's important to connect those landlords who own those with the resources that are out there, with the Mass Save program that has new incentives aimed specifically at rental units to make sure that we're not leaving a huge portion of the city out in the cold in terms of making them more efficient and giving them modern heat pumps and efficient heating and cooling systems.
Thank you. Mayor Ballantyne?
It's wonderful that we live in Somerville, and that Somerville, you can use the words climate change. So I've made Somerville a national leader on climate change and restoring our urban ecosystem. I wrote the Somerville Green New Deal in 2019. I raised our climate goal to carbon negative by 2050, and that's the basis of our Somerville Climate Forward Plan that our community weighed in on and had 77 action items on it. I required the LEED Platinum certifiability for large new buildings. We have a LEED certified life science in Assembly Square, and at Clarendon Hill, redevelopment public housing. Our residents there, our low-income neighbors over there are going to have a fossil fuel-free building built there. I've planted over 1,800 trees, a Miyawaki forest. I've opened and expanded 4 parks and broke ground on Dilboy Auxiliary. And Somerville, I was awarded with all of these things that we've done. We were named and certified as a climate leader in Massachusetts by DOER.
Thank you. We're going to go back to Councillor Burnley for a 30-second extension.
Thank you. I am appreciative of the mayor's work on the Green New Deal resolution. I will note that resolutions have no binding power and they don't actually do anything. We actually have to take action on this really important issue by really building out our infrastructure to be more resilient. And that includes for public transit. We had a question earlier about seniors. We need to make sure that when they are using our buses that they have shade, that they're not standing out alone in the heat on these terrible summers.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks. On the commercial side, one thing we can do is green roofs. Councilor Campen and I co-wrote the vegetated roof ordinance, we call it. Basically, it's a way to make buildings greener in a way that's going to have cost savings long term, because those green roofs are going to reduce the heating and cooling bills.
Thank you. Back to Mayor Ballantyne.
Yes, thank you. So the Green New Deal, just to clarify, it's right, it's a resolution and it's an expression of something, but it's embedded as a basis of our climate forward plan that our community worked on. You know, and at the end of the day, we also have to make personal choices. And I will say, you know, my family made the personal choice 17 years ago to live without a car. So we've been using public transit, walking, and biking to get to where we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to question number 6. And after we finish this question, we'll actually be halfway through. So, what is your position on Somerville for Palestine's Palestinian Solidarity ballot measure? And what will you do as mayor if this ballot question gets on the ballot and passes? So this is a 2-part question. And we are going to start with Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks. It's a question I've been getting asked about on the doors quite a bit. You know, we have community members who are seeing a situation unfold that I think everyone would agree is absolutely unacceptable, and then they've been spurred to action here. Thinking globally, acting locally, as we grew up saying. There is an issue in that public procurement law is going to make it, in my view, impossible to do the main aim of this, which is to boycott certain businesses. I've dug in a lot on public procurement law. I wanted to go try to figure out how we could do a contractor quality scorecard. Turns out, can't do that. The law is very restrictive about what considerations you can bring in terms of awarding bids. It's going to be, I don't know how to get past that. You know, it leaves you then with what would then be a symbolic, non-binding ballot question that's going to leave part of our community feeling alienated and potentially devastated. And, you know, we're facing real threats right now in our city with ICE, picking up our residents and spiriting them away. I think instead of finding ways to find division, we should be focused on keeping our community safe. And as mayor, I will be keeping our community safe.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. I'm absolutely heartbroken by the deaths of innocent people in Gaza and Israel and across the world. I'm against war and all forms of xenophobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and any other kind of othering. My parents were shaped by the horrors of World War II. I understand losing everything and starting over. As mayor, I am focused on making Somerville a place where we can all thrive together, where everyone is welcome, where no one says the words, "I'm afraid." That's why I'm focused on suing the Trump administration so they're not coercing our police to implement their mass deportation efforts. That's why we went through the heart-wrenching work of doing guardianship papers for the kids who are in our Somerville public schools with their parents. I want to protect our immigrants. I want to make sure that our kids have food, that our seniors have food, that our veterans have food. That's what I can do as mayor of Somerville. This is a heart-wrenching situation. I get it. But what I can do is what I can do here in Somerville, because
Thank you.
there's
Your
no
time
legal
has
action
expired.
that I can take on this non-binding resolution.
Right, your time has expired. I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. I don't want to acknowledge my personal frustration with not really getting an answer there from my other candidates on this issue and all the whataboutism we just heard. For more than a year, we have been witnessing a genocide against the Palestinian people that is being done with our taxpayer dollars. It is infuriating that when local leaders are asked to make statements, to do the tiniest bit of work to actually divest from these horrific war crimes, that their answer is to shirk responsibility and to turn away. I won't do that. If this ballot measure passes, I will be implementing it. We will do it in phases. We will do it thoughtfully, but we will actually do it because we have the power to do it, and we need to do it. In the summer of 2019, I actually went to Palestine. I went throughout the West Bank, was in Jerusalem, was in Nablus, Jenin, Israeli-occupied Syria and the Golan. I've seen the apartheid directly. I know the violence that is being inflicted on Palestinian people and the destruction of their humanity. We are complicit in that, and we have a responsibility to do more. And we, as mayor, I will.
Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to Councillor Wilson in a moment. I would invite the candidates, if they're comfortable, to say explicitly yes or no. I'm just putting that out there because we did get a lot of feedback on email about this question. I know it's important to people on both sides. So I'm going to turn it back over to Councillor Wilson for a 30-second extension.
Yeah, thanks. As I mentioned in my initial response, I don't believe the aims, the asks of this are actually doable under our state law. It gets brought up all the time. What about the 80s? There was an executive order by the governor that made that possible. I've explained this to folks when I've met with them. I know it's a frustration, but that is my understanding. It is not doable under the law.
Thank you. We're going to go back to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. There's no legally action that a municipality can take on this. I've talked with our law department many times.
Thank you. Back to Councillor Burnley.
We have choices of who we do business with as a city. This is a basic, straightforward process in terms of whether we have contracts with certain businesses, whether we don't, whether we send out bids and accept those bids, and whether we don't. We have the choice to cut ties with certain companies and divest with certain companies that are that are complicit in these war crimes, these violations of international law, and then violations of the U.S. law, the Leahy law. We should do it.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to question number 7, which is a little bit lighter. What is your favorite space in Union Square? How does this space represent the neighborhood? And we are going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
My favorite space in Union Square, it has to do with where people come together. It's the space in front of the Independent and the old Somerville Media Center. It's because the markets are there. It's because the dance and the hip hop and the fluff are there. It brings joy to be there with people who visit from outside the city, but the kids and the families who come here. That's one of my favorite spaces.
Thank you. We'll move on to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. As some people know, I am polyamorous, so picking one is really it's not one it's something I'm quite in favor of most of the time, but I'll try to do my best here. I love Vera's. I love going to Vera's for their karaoke nights, for their vinyl nights, their different dance nights. They play great music, including soul and funk and exotica, which is like this really weird, like 1950s kind of mixed genre. So I would say Vera's, and if I had to put more, because I want to put more, I'd also, it's not quite exactly in Union Square, but I'd also say Lincoln Park because it is a fantastic, fantastic place, and it is one of our most accessible parks, and I think we need to be doing more to have universal design across the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
That's a great question. It is tough to pick one. I'm going to go with Bow Market. I love the vibe in there. It's always going to have a special place in my heart. It's the first place that my family went out to eat together once the pandemic hit too. So it's always going to have that special memory to us, and we had a really amazing dinner out there that I'll never forget. I love the mix of people that you see there. You know, it's a really good cross section of Somerville. You'll see families out there, young people. They've got a brewery. It's such a good space in terms of incubating and growing and supporting small business. I remember how quickly that space came together too. I remember hearing it was coming, and normally you think of development taking a long time, and that one happened fast, and I'm so glad it did. Big Bow Market fan.
Thank you. We'll now move into the 30-second extensions. Just reminding candidates, if you don't want to use it, just say, hey, I don't want to use it right now. All right, we're going to go to Mayor Ballantyne, if you would like to use her.
Thank you. So open space. I will say Lincoln Park also is a beautiful space, and I was very involved in making sure that that continued being a green space, that it actually cools down the neighborhood. There was big debates a while back of whether it should be artificial turf or not. So the fact that when you see people, and I've seen kids and adults sort of hanging out in the park, and especially during COVID, they had cool places to be. It's one of my favorites.
Expired. Sorry. Thank you. We will now move to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. Just to add to my list, I'll also give a shout out to Union Tavern, which is very nearby. Union Tavern hosts a series of queer events, from the dance event Fluid to the dance, I think it's just called Bi, and the event Indecent. There's so many events that they put on there that are just so fun and bring out a huge swath of our community. And I think we need to be doing more to actually uplift the queer community in Somerville, particularly at this moment where trans folks and queer people in general are under attack.
All right, thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Well, we heard the mention of Lincoln Park. Big fan of Lincoln Park myself. That soccer field there, we have spent upwards of $2 million on that, and it continues to be unusable. We have to figure out how to make that field work. We need usable grass athletic fields in this city. I'm going to make that happen.
Thank you. All right, moving into question number 8. Given that the city projects sewer spending will exceed $1,000 per household by fiscal year 2030, what steps will your administration take to intervene in this rapidly ballooning public infrastructure crisis? And we are going to start with Councillor Burnley.
Wonderful, my favorite question. As on the council, we've done a lot of work to try to push the administration to do more around these costs, and specifically to restructure the fees so that they are more equitable and are not hitting low-income folks where they're hurt. Part of that is by actually charging more to those larger single-family homes, to folks who tend to be more well-off, and actually getting a more accurate accounting of what the water bills are there. To do that, we need to actually hire folks to work in this department. I mean, currently the water and sewer department does not have a director, and we frankly are missing a lot of the workers who do the work necessary to expedite billing, to make sure that folks are getting accurate readings. This is something that requires us to make Somerville in a good place to work. And one of the things I'm very proud of is pushing the administration to quadruple municipal worker benefits by trying to get us to opt into the Paid Family Medical Leave Act at the state level. We did that. Now it is 8 weeks versus 2 weeks after I pushed for over a year, and that is going to make Somerville a more beneficial place to work, which is going to mean we're going to have more people to do this important work moving forward.
Your time has expired. We're going to move on to Councilor Wilson.
Yeah, the water and sewer department. We got some problems. My colleague mentioned some staffing shortages there. Nowhere do you see it more acutely than with the special heavy motor equipment operator SHMEO positions. We have a bunch of them. They're vacant. As a result, we have to pay for outsourced work. If you look at what it would probably cost to fill those positions with by raising the salaries for them relative to what we're paying for outsourced work, it probably costs 1.5 times what it would actually cost us to do that in-house. We have to make sure that we're filling those in-house positions. As part of the recent conversation the City Council had about the water and sewer rates, we were treated to a presentation from staff about how they want to restructure the rates so that multifamilies aren't hitting the same volumetric increases in water and sewer costs that they are now. Because basically, if you're in a multifamily, you have 3, 4 more households. You're going to use that much more water. You're going to have to pay those higher rates that much sooner than you should. So rebalancing that is a really good idea. Finally, I want to figure out why we have a bunch of water meters that don't have accounts associated with them. I think that's scandalous. We're going to get to the bottom of that.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you for the question. So to me, this deals with affordability. It's like, how can we bring in more revenue to the city? So I have looked to always develop good development that creates good jobs, that's mixed-use, transit-oriented development. Why? As the development comes in, as I said, we just rezoned Summer Nova. It brings in new revenue for the city. It allows us to deliver on our progressive values and also work on our aging infrastructure, which in many ways goes back to the 1800s. So that's what I've been focusing on, in addition to presenting a plan, which we did to the council back in January, but they decided they didn't want to support it. We came back again in May, and staff again put the same proposal forward to make sure that we could restructure it so it could be efficient. So it's a combination of what are we planning? How are we getting the zoning done to attract new business to come in here? And on the sort of management of the city, it is proposing structures on how to make the water department and the sewer department
Your time
work,
has expired.
which we've done.
Thank you. We are going to turn it back over to Councilor Burnley.
Thank you, and thanks to my colleague at large for mentioning the cost what it takes when we do not have the adequate staffing and we have to get contractors and consultants to do this work. We need to be building in-house. We need to be having people who get good union jobs working in this city rather than outsourcing, which costs us more money and waste, frankly, in my opinion, waste taxpayer dollars. When we can hire more people to do this work in-house, it will make this not only a faster process, in my opinion, but it will be less costly for the taxpayer.
Thank you. Back to Councilor Wilson.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I won't do, and that is spend a significant amount of time pursuing a ratepayer assistance plan only to come to find out ultimately we can't do that under Mass General Law.
Thank you. And back to Mayor Ballantyne.
We have some great new zoning that has come in with the Summer Nova. It's adding to our tax base. It's smart development. It is well received. We're working through brick bottom and we're working through assembly. And that's going to bring in more revenue, give us opportunities to deliver on our progressive values, and also help us with our structure. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to move on to question number 9. In Union Square, we experience potholes, rats, improperly marked intersections, lack of operating streetlights, and the never-ending need for free community space and programming. As mayor, how will you ensure transparency in how contributions for community stabilization funds, linkage fees, and other monies intended for community benefits are actually being used by the city to solve these issues? And we're going to start with Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks for that. This might be the first time I've been asked about this one, and I think that's a really good question. From chairing the Finance Committee, I'm all too familiar with the stabilization funds that we have. When people hear linkage fees, right, those are contributions by developers. We have two of them. There's a housing one and there's a job creation and retention one as well. We recently raised both of those, I believe, last year. How we spend that money should be extremely, extremely transparent. I've personally run into a situation where you hear through word of mouth, oh yeah, this is in a covenant somewhere. These funds, were set aside for this one purpose. And trying to get to the bottom of that, it feels like you're navigating a maze. It shouldn't be like that. There should be a clear process for figuring out how to use these funds, especially in cases where there's no dedicated purpose built into that covenant, which is a thing that happens. 74 Middlesex, there was a rather large payment made about that, and there's there's a whole process that needs to happen about that. So I hear the frustration about that. That is something I'm out to change as your next mayor.
Thank you. We're going to go to Mayor Ballantyne.
So thank you. I think transparency, certainly agree with that. It's something that I value. Our linkage fees are very transparent. Our funds are available to also look at. As a city councilor, all you need to do is make sure that you ask for that information. In terms of covenants, absolutely. Sharing what is available, how it will be allocated for that. It's something I also agree with in terms of making sure that everything is transparent.
Thank you. We're going to go to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. I want to share in the spirit of this question because I think the city needs to do far more to be communicative with residents and to be transparent about its processes. One of the things I hear from people all the time is when there are changes made to our streets, when there are processes that are going on, they surprise them and they feel like they have no chance to actually engage to make those processes better. And as a counselor, I've also felt these struggles. When our city got $80 million in ARPA funding after COVID hit, the initial response from this administration to tell us how those funds would be used was to have a series of press releases. Hey, we're going to spend $2 million on this. We're going to spend $5 million on that. We're going to put $1 million here. And unless you were going to create a Rolodex of press releases and create your own spreadsheets, there was no systemic way to follow it. That's why I put forward an order that the city put a page on our website where we could track, and anyone could track, how much we were spending in ARPA on each specific project. As a mayor, I would do the same for this so that people in our community can actually follow along with how their money is being spent, specifically and especially when it is neighborhood councils like this one who are doing the hard work to make sure that we're getting the benefits when our city is changing so much and so rapidly. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into the extensions, if you have, this is to the candidates, if you have not done so, please really focus on the how of this question. There's a lot of money in a lot of buckets, and we want to know how the money is getting out of the bucket, and how are you going to communicate that to us where the money is going in for what? And we are going to go back to Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, so right now you can go on the city's website and look up and see a list of stabilization funds and their balances. Doesn't really tell you what it's for, what it was promised for, right? We have to make sure that you can easily digest that. It's out there for the public. We have to make sure the public can go find out information they're looking for on that. Because there's a lot of money in these stabilization funds, a lot.
Thank you. We're going to go back to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So we have 19 different newsletters plus in 5 languages if you want to get specific information. We have dashboards on ARPA. We have dashboards on on climate. That is many of the ways that we communicate with people. We also do it in person, and we convene groups and meetings, but there's 19 different types of newsletters, broad to very specific, that you can sign up for. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We said it at the same time. Councillor Burnley?
Thank you. As I mentioned, I think the ARPA website page is the model here. When you go to that page, you can see how much money exactly is being spent on which projects, when it is encumbered, when it's actually spent, what's obligated, which is what hasn't been spent, but we've promised to spend it somewhere. We should be doing that. But also, to the mayor's point, we actually need to make our city website more navigatable. It is a mess, and we need to consolidate on a single page where all these newsletters are so that people aren't waking up one day and saying, oh, there's a newsletter for that?
Your time has expired. Thank you so much. All right, we are going to go into question number 10. There are only 3 questions remaining in the forum. It takes a long time to get anything done through municipal processes in Somerville. For example, one resident was told by DPW that it would take at least 3 months to receive a replacement trash can. A Tufts University study has found that it takes an average of 562 days to obtain a special permit from the planning department. What can be done to improve governmental efficiency while retaining quality of services? And we are going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
Wonderful, great question. So there's 2 big, I believe government should be efficient. I have made some big reforms with big results, and I'm going to tell you about 2 of them. The first one is I've revolutionized the city's budgeting process. I created best practices for financial management. That means we added staff, not only to control spending at the major departments across the city. I created a free cash policy. That's the first of its kind. And that these processes in place earned Somerville her first AAA bond rating, which allows us to borrow money at a lower rate to be able to work on our aging infrastructure. On our permitting, I've streamlined the permitting. When I came in, I realized that everybody was using a different software platform. So now any department that's on the same in the permitting process uses a common platform. I've required them to be working in teams to do concurrent reviews to reduce steps and save times.
Thank you. We are going to move to Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. As a counselor, I know how long city government can take because I've had a front row to some very slow processes myself. I've passed at least 13 laws, more than any of my colleagues currently. And in passing those laws, I've learned how to navigate city process and how to get results. And I can tell you, as someone who has a front row seat to municipal government, I've seen what isn't getting done as well. When we have union negotiations that take years beyond being in contract, when we have workers who are leaving the city because they feel like they are not valued, that is what slows down these processes. And as the chair of licenses and permits, I've had many conversations with small businesses who have called me and said, hey, I can't get a health inspection. Hey, I can't get a building inspection. I have everything done, and I've had everything done, but no one from the city is coming down here to actually just look at it so I can open, so I can pay people, so I can provide a service. And I've been able to help some of the people who can get in contact with me, but they shouldn't have to know the right person to talk to. We need to streamline our permitting process. We need to actually have fully staffed city so that we can actually get the work done, whether it's repaving roads or opening new small businesses.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks for this question. I knew going into municipal government that it would be a test of patience for me. I'm not the most patient person in the world, and the pace of government speaks for itself many times. I am right there with you if you're frustrated in these situations. We do have a constituent services department who do wonderful work. People can still be left frustrated, you know, if a request gets marked closed, which could mean a number of different things. It could mean it was handed off. It could mean it just got closed. I want to create an ombud. Ombudsman is the gendered term for it. I think it's important that there's someone there who could be an advocate for constituents when they end up frustrated, if they feel like their problems weren't resolved, if they have a grievance. I've done that in the nonprofit world, and I'll do that for the city of Somerville as well. I also want to use our chief administrative officer properly on optimization. I think it's really important that we gather really meaningful data. We have the Somerset department that could be put to use for really, really good purposes, figuring out what data will actually reflect whether we're having success with the programs and services we're providing, and then coming back to that data time and time again, seeing if the processes that we're putting in place to make things better are actually working. Are we improving the situation? But we have to be relentless with that because, yeah, I feel the impatience.
Thank you. We're going to go into the extension, starting with Mayor Ballantyne.
I believe that government should be efficient, and I think that my administration has been working to make those improvements. There's more work to be done, and I look forward to doing more of it.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Burnley.
Yes, I want to expand on this to not just talk about special permits for businesses, but also talk about housing. I know a lot of homeowners who want to make changes to their houses, but have to go through incredibly onerous processes that are different in Medford, different in Boston, different in Cambridge, and are easier everywhere but in Somerville. We can actually make it easier to change your homes in Somerville by, again, looking at our permitting, doing a comparative analysis in-house, not with consultants, not with privatization, and getting better results for the people who live here.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Someone just referred to inspectional services. Yeah, at the top of my list of departments that I think need a complete overhaul is inspectional services. I hear nothing but frustration from folks on the doors about this. If you haven't had a bad experience, I guarantee someone you know in this city has. It doesn't need to be like this. We can make it better.
Thank you. All right, second to last question. In several recent developments, abutters have strongly objected to the impacts of major projects, while decision makers have felt obligated to approve those developments for the benefit of the entire city. What pathways do you propose to increase the community's participation in and impacts on the development process? And we are going to start with Councillor Burnley.
I love this question. Some folks who've been longtime Union Square Neighborhood Council members know that when I ran for city council, I came straight to them and I said, how do we get more CBAs? How do we have more neighborhood councils in our community so that we can negotiate with developers and get those benefits when they try to make rapid and giant changes to our city? And as mayor, I would love to have the city help host a town hall, a forum, where all the neighborhood councils can gather and speak to people, tell them about the process, get people involved. Because when we have a more democratically ran city, we get better results. And you can look at any one of our CBAs, and none are perfect. They're all the effort of hard work by our neighbors, but the alternative for every single one of those CBAs was something worse. And I should just acknowledge that we are in Summer Nova campus, which is owned by Raffi Properties, who did that development. And I'm the only person in this race who does not take money from for-profit developers. And I think it's really dangerous when we have a mayor who has taken money from this developer directly, thousands of dollars from their employees, and then is involved and in charge of the zoning process.
All right, thank you. We're going to go to Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, I appreciate my colleague at large point out that, yeah, we're sitting here having this discussion at Summer Nova. And yeah, I also think it's important to not take money from folks with business before the city. That's a policy I have. I won't take a dime from someone who has something currently before the city or is expected to have something before the city beyond a routine license or permit. Yeah, let's talk neighborhood councils. USNC. They have existed for a little bit here. They have negotiated some really good benefits agreements over that time. They've recently been through the ringer here with the aforementioned process.
Right. Your time is up. Thank you. felt short. No, that was the 90-second. That's why I looked at you. I was like, that felt a little short. Okay. I will let Councillor Wilson resume.
Thanks for that. Yeah, so you all probably followed this process, right? We had a community benefits agreement that was then voted on by the Union Square Neighborhood Council membership. That was expanded to include a larger catchment area, including abutters who are not technically in USNC's catchment area. This was a stress test that we just saw here, right? Where you had a property on the edge of the catchment area, and you had, by the bylaws of USNC, anyone who has worked or volunteered in the past year in that catchment area was able to come vote. And man, did they. I want to hold up the USNC for the work they did under immense pressure. And I've said this publicly. I think it is really unfair, some of the criticisms they've come under for following their bylaws. These were their bylaws. They followed them. You know, if there's a bigger issue with the process, we can come back and revisit that. But I think it is really unfair to criticize the USNC for following their bylaws, following the process, and doing that right. Big fan of neighborhood councils. Hopefully Davis Square Neighborhood Council's coming on board soon too. But yeah, it's a great way for councilors not to have to put their finger in the breeze and try to guess which way the wind is blowing.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So I believe in inclusive leadership. What does that mean? And it means those who are most impacted have an opportunity to develop the policies or the projects or give input that affects them. So I believe in neighborhood councils. I was actually looking back at some lit that I wrote back in 2011 that talked about neighborhood councils giving support. So I'm okay with that. And I thank the Union Square Neighborhood Council because we all know that it can get a little bit messy, but you get teamwork that makes lasting progress. You know, development, we have a number of examples. We have Summer Nova, which included the community, the developers, the artists, the climate tech people that came together to come up with something that was beneficial for everybody. In Clarendon Hill redevelopment public housing, you had two different development groups. You had the residents who came together over a 13-month process. I hosted 11 community meetings to make sure that our public housing residents could get new housing that's fossil fuel free, that goes from 3 stories to 10 stories and also triples the size of the area. And it
Your
got a
time
little
has
messy,
expired.
but at the end of the day, with
Your time
community
has
input,
expired.
it worked.
Thank you. Before we go into the extensions, I invite any candidate that has not addressed alternatives to neighborhood councils or examples of, you know, community input processes and impact that could be tangential to or outside of neighborhood councils. I am going to start with Councillor Burnley Jr.
Of course, and I will give a shout out to participatory budgeting. I think it is an important thing that we're doing. I think we should be expanding on that, and I hope this is not a 1 or 2 off, but something we have long term. But I'll also just say that neighborhood councils are incredibly important. They're our city's natural immune system from the developers that come in and try to rapidly transform our city without the support of our neighbors. And the city needs to do more to support those councils, including by helping fund litigation if necessary.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
I want to talk about the abutter concerns. Yeah, there's a process outside the neighborhood councils to hear those, and it's called people showing up and listening and talking. I did so many visits here to this area to talk with the abutters, listen to their concerns, and then work to make sure that we could try to address the best we could through tweaks to the zoning and to the process the very real concerns that the abutters had about traffic, about shadows. These were very reasonable concerns, and we need to keep an eye on these going forward.
Thank you. Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. So outside the neighborhood councils, you know, it's the counselors. I mean, I hosted so many community meetings when I was a counselor talking about development, making sure that the residents had a voice, that the abutters had a voice. As I said, on Clarendon Hill, that's tripling the size. It's going from 200 housing units to 600. And there was concern. What was going to happen with traffic? Did people want the upzoning from 3 stories to
Your time has expired.
10 stories? It's making sure counselors also do the work.
Thank you. We're going to move into the final question. All right, and we're going to start with Councillor Wilson. Though you are vying for the same seat, what is one thing that aligns you besides living in Somerville? And why is this trait important for an elected mayor to have? Councillor Wilson.
Can I ask a clarifying question? That aligns us as 3 people up here?
I'll repeat it. Oh, can we stop for a second? I'm just going to repeat the question because some of our candidates did not hear it. Though you are vying for the same seat, what is one thing that aligns you besides living in Somerville, and why is this trait important for an elected mayor to have? So something that you all have in common or that you share, and why is that an important trait for a mayor to have? And we will start with Councillor Wilson. We'll restart the clock, please.
All right, yeah, one thing all 3 of us have, I believe, is a commitment to, I think all of us would identify as progressives, and a commitment to progressive policy with different approaches, different points of emphasis, different priorities, but that, Somerville is a very progressive city, and that is one thing that unites us up here. That's important for a mayor because a mayor can then pursue progressive policies knowing that the city is going to be behind them on that, which is not the case a lot of places in this country, right? We all live in a bit of a bubble. We see what it's like other places sometimes, and it looks very different to us. It's important that a mayor be able to bring a city together, right? There's sometimes in Somerville politics a little bit of a civil war that goes on between different factions. I've generally refused to play sides, to take a side in that, play team games. I work for the people. I represent the interests of the people, and I will always represent the interests of the people, and that's why it's important for a mayor to do that.
Thank you. We're going to go to Mayor Ballantyne.
Thank you. I would also say is that we all care. I certainly care. I care about the residents that are here. I want to make sure that our kids have the food that they need, that our seniors have access to the resources that are needed, that our veterans' benefits are not being taken away for us, that people can move around our streets as safely as possible and have access to our elected officials. So I care about our community. I care about our neighbors, and one thing I was reaffirmed with during COVID is how many people stepped in and how many people helped. Certainly was amazing to see, and also seeing the caring that I've been hearing about our immigrant neighbors here in Somerville who are afraid of being out on the street or going to schools or going to their faith centers because they might be abducted. So, but our neighborhood cares. I've heard so much about how people are stepping in and helping. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. I mean, I look around on this platform and I can say we all got a good head of hair. And I think that's really important for a mayor to get things done. But more seriously, and to the mayor's point, I do not doubt for a second that every person on this stage loves Somerville and loves this community. I think that's really important. I really balk when I hear political actors denigrate sections of our city, saying, these people aren't really the community. Those people aren't really the community. These are transients. These people, they've only been here for so many years. That doesn't, their voices don't really matter as much as someone else's. That really, and maybe it's because I'm a renter, that really irks me. And I want to be very clear that I do love this community, and I fight for it like I love it. Cornel West once said that justice is what love looks like in public. And I think that as mayor, you have to have that love in order to fight with the urgency necessary to bring relief to people. And that is what I've tried to do as a councilor, and that's what I'm going to try to do as mayor.
Thank you. Back to Councilor Wilson.
Yeah, one great thing is that I believe all three of us are outraged by what's happening here in the country, and specifically our city, with unidentified masked federal agents coming in and taking away residents. And a commitment that I think all three of us have to doing whatever we can do to, in whatever limited way we can, to stand in that gap and protect our neighbors from a ridiculous thing that's happening right now.
Thank you. Mayor Ballantyne.
I guess I want to take the humor that Counselor is like, we all got good shoes on, don't we? So I guess what's nice about this is that we can smile and we can laugh and that we can share our thoughts. So I feel, that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, over to Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. I'm going to leave off where my colleague just did and just acknowledge the terror that so many parts of our community are feeling right now. When I go out to knock on doors, I've heard from people fear when they hear that knock, fear that ICE is at their door. One of the things I want to do as mayor is what they're proposing in Providence right now, which is a citywide mailing, a Know Your Rights mailing to every household in this city in multiple languages with a piece of it that you can slide under the door when ICE comes.
All right, your time is up. Thank you very much. All right, so that's it for the questions. We're now going to move into closing statements. Each candidate is now going to receive 2 minutes for closing statements, and we're going to start with Mayor Ballantyne.
So thank you. My leadership record in these uncertain times demonstrates that I am the clear choice to continue making progress and to defend the values and the federal benefits from Trump's attacks. In my time as mayor, I brought Somerville together and we've created lasting change. Let's keep working together to be an inclusive, equitable Somerville. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Burnley?
Thank you. I've been incredibly honored to wake up every day over the last 2 terms of the council and feel a sense of purpose with my life and with the work that I do. I'm very honored by the support that I've had over the years from residents who voted for me, who've come out to knock doors for me, and who've lifted me up as someone who came to this city after I graduated from college and was immediately displaced. I'm the only renter in this race, and I'm gonna fight for renters like it. And I've learned how to get things done on the council, including beyond the council. I was really grateful to help push for it into forced broker fees, which is the exploitative practice of tenants being charged for brokers that they did not hire. That is a state level change that Somerville was thanked by a state senator and multiple state reps for being a part of. I helped lead that charge, and I'm gonna make sure as mayor that we continue to have these fights, not only for things that are easy to do on the local level, and not everything's easy, most things aren't, but we need to fight pragmatically, but in a principled fashion on these fronts, and have ambitions that are feasible. Because when we set our sights low, when we say that the status quo is working, we know that it is the working people of this city who are being shattered by that status quo. And I'm here to make sure that those people have a voice in government and that they have access to the mayor, who will be out in communities talking with them, working with them, and organizing on their behalf. And if you want to join this campaign, go to willieforsomerville.com and come join us for our canvas. We're doing it all the time. Join us for our phone bank. And come to Willie Fest next Sunday at the Rockwell. Listen to some local music.
Thank you. Councilor Wilson?
Yeah, thanks to the USNC, my fellow candidates, everybody here, everyone watching on Zoom for caring, for coming out to follow this. Tonight we heard about the challenges, the very real challenges that our city's up against, and the leadership that we need to address those meaningfully. Starting last summer, I was asked by the community to step up and run, and I've answered that call. I've been out knocking doors and connecting with people since the winter. People want to feel good about their city again. It's clear to me from all those conversations, the city's ready for new leadership, decisions that need to be made, better communications, a mayor who listens. I'll be that mayor. I have experience with culture resets. I know that starts at the top. We have really good people who work for the city of Somerville. We need a mayor who's active and engaged and is going to get the best out of them. I'm all about curiosity, innovation, a can-do attitude. If you don't know me, ask your friends about me, your neighbors, your work colleagues. If you know a city of Somerville employee, ask them who they're voting for this year. I'm asking for your vote on September 16th and November 4th to move this city forward with the leadership it deserves. There's a groundswell of support for this campaign. We are energized and we are firing on all cylinders, and we're going to do this. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you. I just want to give a thank you to Mayor Katjana Ballantyne, Councilor Willie Burnley Jr., and Councilor Jake Wilson for coming up here, all being here in person, taking the time to answer the community's questions, no matter how tough they were.